Several families have told the BBC they were wrongly advised to have an abortion by Nottingham University Hospital's NHS Trust. Two of them said they terminated their pregnancies after being mistakenly told that their babies had genetic conditions. The third changed their minds and are now parents of a healthy boy. The Trust said its fetal care team always sought to provide compassionate and professional care. Our social affairs correspondent Michael Buchanan has this report.
It's the most impossible choice we've ever had to make. We just thought the best option was to end the pregnancy because the baby was just suffering.
Carly and Carl were expecting their first child in 2019 when a test indicated their baby might have Patau's syndrome, a rare life-limiting genetic disorder. A consultant outlined the consequences.
She said that our daughter, if she even made full term, she would just spend hours suffering and her life would be
just, yeah,
the
just
doctors.
a stay of palliative care.
Yeah.
Though it was a two-part test, the fetal care team at Nottingham City Hospital say the second part, the results of which would take a fortnight to come through, would only confirm the initial result.
We asked her, is there any point in waiting for that? Because will it change? Is there anything we can do? She said, no, it will only confirm that your baby's got Patau's.
The couple, who'd named their baby Ladybird, felt medics were guiding them to end the pregnancy.
It was shepherded towards that. I mean, there was no other options.
It's just an awful, impossible situation. Yeah.
Weeks after the abortion, they returned to hospital for what they thought was a routine follow-up meeting with a consultant.
The first thing she said was, I've got something to tell you, your results have changed. And I was like, you're going to tell me that my daughter was completely healthy.
An NHS investigation concluded the first test result had been a false positive, a well-recognised hazard of such tests. Although not absolutely certain, it seems highly probable that the pregnancy was, in fact, chromosomally normal. In other words, the baby was healthy.
I remember being really confused, like, is this normal that, they guide you to end pregnancies and then this happens? It was just, I couldn't work it out. It was that bad.
The Nottingham University Hospitals Trust told us, we know that we failed Carly, Carl and their baby, Ladybird, and for that we are truly sorry. We can assure them and other families that we have investigated and learned from this tragic case. Just over 3,000 abortions in England and Wales, around 1% of the total, are due to fetal abnormalities each year. It's not known how many are mistakenly carried out. A second Nottingham couple have told the BBC they too were mistakenly advised to have an abortion. In 2017, a pregnancy scan indicated their baby had a life-limiting genetic disorder. In an email they wrote, when a post-mortem was carried out, the baby was found not to have the condition. You've chosen to do this interview anonymously. Why is that?
Our son knows that he was poorly during my pregnancy with him, but we haven't told him how close he came to dying.
This third couple are the parents of a healthy 9-year-old boy, but only just. In 2015, 2 pregnancy scans at the Queen's Medical Centre indicated their child had a kidney problem. Instead of further testing, they were advised their baby would most likely not survive the pregnancy or die shortly afterwards. On the day the couple went to have the abortion, they requested a final scan.
Absolutely crazily, while on the scan, our little baby emptied his bladder. So we didn't end the pregnancy.
And how's your son now?
He's great. He's healthy. Yeah, he's a typical 9-year-old.
The Nottingham University Hospitals Trust say their fetal medicine teams strive to support families in the most compassionate and professional manner and always want to hear from those who don't feel that has been their experience. Michael Buchanan, BBC News, Nottingham.
Well, an extraordinary story this. Michael, as you can see, joins me now in the studio. Michael, the really distressing details we were hearing there. So just tell me more about what some of these families have been saying to you.
Well, I've been looking into maternity care for the best part of a decade, and I've dealt with dozens and dozens of cases where babies have died or suffered injuries or mothers have died due to avoidable errors, but I've never, ever come across anything like this. This all happened at the one trust, remember. In Carl and Carly's case, the system set up to ensure that these mistakes don't happen simply failed at that trust. Essentially, they were told that their baby might have a severe genetic abnormality. They went to have a 2-part test. The first part came back and indicated that the child may have this genetic condition. But the advice is always to wait for the longer term test, which takes about 2 weeks longer. And bear in mind, Carly was only 14 weeks pregnant at the time. To wait a couple of weeks. They asked if they should wait, and they were advised by the consultant that it would just confirm the first test, the rapid test. That is despite the fact that in this world of fetal medicine, it is well known that this initial rapid test has got a high likelihood of false positives. So why they were then advised to have a termination at that point is simply they can't understand, and the trust have apologised to them. The second couple, they were equally told at 20 weeks that they had potentially had a genetic condition. They say to the trust, well, if the child has got a genetic condition, it either must come from one of us. So the trust agreed to give them some testing. Then they were told that would be returned quite quickly. That simply didn't happen. They were then called when the mum was 23 weeks and 6 days pregnant. She was called late one afternoon and said, the legal limit for abortions is 24 weeks. You basically have to decide tonight whether you want to terminate the baby or not.
Okay.
And they decided that they would take that advice. In actual fact, the Abortion Act makes allowances for these kind of issues because these are fetal abnormalities. And it's the mother in that particular case still can't understand why they were put under that much pressure.
Tell me a little more then about what the hospital trust has said. And also there's a wider inquiry going on, isn't there?
There's a wider inquiry. So these cases are all part of what's known as the Auckland Review into Maternity Care at the Nottingham University Hospitals Trust. That is probably going to look at somewhere in the region of 2,500 cases before it closes its doors to new cases. It's going to review. It's going to report. It was due to report at the end of September this year. It's now announced a few days ago that it'll be next summer before that. Is due to the sheer volume of cases. The trust are obviously cooperating with the Auckland inquiry, and in relation to these cases, they have apologised to Carl and Carly for the case that we highlighted at the top of that piece, and they say that their fetal medicines team aims to provide compassionate and professional care whenever possible, and they want to hear from any families who feel that that hasn't been the case.
Michael, thanks very much for taking us through all of that. Thank you.